Hello, this is Beastly Eel with another Eel Talk. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch. This particular episode was it's much more of a lead-up episode. Um, we, I'll go into more detail of the episode in a minute. But realistically, it was definitely, for story-wise, the episode itself didn't really lead much to it. But we got to see that there's potential in different areas. Like I said, I'll explain. Um, so as always, I'll talk about the episode itself and then go on about, what I think is going to happen after. So at the start of this episode, we see Echo trying to train Omega on how to use this like plasma bow, and she's not very good with it. We see that she's missed a lot of the shots. And apparently, guys at the bar are taking bets on whether she's going to hit the bullseye or not. Apparently, she only hit it 3 times out of 12, and then she missed one more, so really only 3 out of 13, which aren't good odds. So, Sid, the green creature from the last episode, I can't even remember her name. Sid? Sid. Sid. I'm going to go with Sid. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. But that being said, she kicks the 2 guys who are at the bar out because she wants to talk to them, and say that she has a mission for them, and they're not keen on kind of doing it because they haven't decided on whether or not they're going to work with her. And she basically says, "I'm making the decision for you." She's like, you know, it's a win-win. I get money, you get money, and I make sure that the people are off your back because you're definitely high targets. So they agree. And what she shows Omega is she grabs the plasma bow and she starts firing off and hitting every shot. And she goes, "You need to build up your arm strength so you can actually use it properly." So Omega took that to heart, um, and kind of tried to make sure she knew that. So we see them leave. Oh, I'm sorry. So their mission is to grab the head of a battle droid, specifically a commander droid. Um, we don't know the reason why. We assume obviously it's for the information that's actually in the droid. But anyway, that being said, they take off to go and look for it. So they get to this place, and it's basically a dump. They're basically destroying all the battle droids, melting them down. Um, and it just seems like they're just, I imagine it's the orders of the Empire to dismantle and destroy all battle droids, which would make sense, obviously. So they start looking for the droid, and they split up. Well, it turns out that there is somebody else trying to grab it, and it looks like there's 2 of them. So they started to get into a little bit of an altercation, as well as the guards on this junkyard start attacking them as well. And it turns out that the 2 people who are also after the head of the battle droid are 2 characters we met quite recently, in the Star Wars universe. They were introduced in the final season of the Clone Wars. Trace and her sister Rafa. Rafa? Rafa. I know I spelled it correctly, but pronunciations have never been my strong suit. So anyway, those 2. So little background on these 2 for those of you who don't know. They were living at the edge of this dock. I use that term lightly. It's kind of a weird thing. Um, Trace was trying to build her ship to escape their lives to go to off planet. Raphael was more of a criminal who liked doing stuff to kind of make money. We get introduced to them because Ahsoka had left the Jedi Order and actually bumped into them quite literally. Crash landed. They worked together for a while. They found out she was a Jedi. They weren't thrilled. Um, but it didn't end on such horrible terms because she did help out and everything else and everything she needed to do. So it's kind of odd seeing them trying to go after it. So there's a big, huge fight going on. Um, they have to, so the clones, aka the Bad Batch, and these two have to work together to kind of escape. So the head kind of gets bounced back and forth between the two groups throughout this whole scene, and they're just taking out guards left and right. Wrecker is supposed to do something, specifically shut down something, and what happens is he hits his head again for like the millionth time, and he starts stating, good soldiers, and he never finishes the actual phrase, but we all know what it's supposed to say. It's supposed to say, I'm sorry, good soldiers follow orders, and we see that, and that becomes a problem because that means he's very likely to start to turn. So he's passed out on the ground. I don't know if he's fighting it or what, but he's definitely just laying on the ground. And he's kind of like slowly saying it, but like never completes the whole phrase. So they're all fighting and everything. And now that they've gotten the droid head and they've kind of realized that they need to work together, they try to escape. The problem is there's too many guards stopping them. So Trace comes up with a brilliant plan, to use the head of the battle droid to command all the other battle droids that are there to attack the guards. Trace couldn't do it on her own, so um, oh my god, Tech. I couldn't think of his name for a second. So Tech actually helps out, and he actually magnifies the signal and everything else. So Hunter's skeptical, but what he finds out is that they're gonna follow their orders. The problem is they're being overrun because it's taking too long. So everyone's calling Wrecker, and nobody seems to get a response from him except Omega. Omega calls him, and he kind of gets back to the swing of things, and he's still kind of starting the phrase but never finishing it. He jumps down and basically takes out as many guards as he can. Takes out at least the first wave, and as the second wave comes in, he gets overrun. He does back away. He is safe from the bombardment anyway. So the battle droid then is activated, and all the other battle droids come down and start taking out the guards. The group escapes, or at least tries to. While this is going on, the battle droid head gets destroyed, from the guards. They are blasting it, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that gets hit. So the group escapes, and they split up. They end on decent terms, and in fact, Hunter gives them kind of like it looks like a rod, but it contains all the information that was inside the droid head. And the reason why he does so is because they talk about why they were stealing the head. It was giving information to take out the Empire. Hunter gives them that information because he thinks they're going to use it for good. I say it for a reason I'll talk about later. So what we don't know what information the Bad Batch got, but on the ship there is a hologram that pops up, and we see just kind of like a cloak type thing. We don't really know who's in the picture, but what they say is we found a group of clones that we think you'd be interested in, and that's how the episode ends. So a lot of things to unpack here. It's good to see that Trace and Rafa are alive. Um, and it seems like they're doing stuff for the good side. Um, Trace was always somebody who wanted to do good. Rafia was always on the fence. It was more of what works best for her than what works best for everybody. But at least she was always honest about that. So we see that. We also see that Wrecker is really getting closer to turning. Um, and the big fear I have is he's going to turn rather soon, and they might have to take him out, which will be devastating if that happens. I will not be thrilled. Honestly, I'd actually be depressed. I really like Wrecker and Omega's kind of relationship, but what I noticed in this episode more than I did in any of the others was every time everyone else was calling Wrecker, nothing happened, but specifically Omega. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because it could be potentially just the relationship Omega and Wrecker have. But we still don't know the abnormality that Omega possesses because she's an enhanced clone. We're not 1,000% sure what her enhancement does. We have an idea that it has something to do with interpersonal skills in some sort of capacity, but never knowing the full extent of what it could be. She could be the reason why Wrecker hasn't actually turned yet, because she's able to kind of stop it in some sort of way, whether she knows it or not. That is just a theory. We don't know for sure on whether it was because, Omega, he likes Omega more, or if it's because of Omega's abilities. The ending part of this episode is a huge kind of like, uh-oh, what's going on? Because we don't see who Rafi is talking to, and because it's a silhouette, it's not really a silhouette. We only see a piece, and we hope that it's in color, but who knows? It could be black and white for all we know. But it looks like it's dark clothing, which automatically makes you think that it's either Darth Vader, some sort of Sith, possibly a stormtrooper. Also, could potentially be the bounty hunter that's after them. There's a lot of things, which automatically make you think that it's negative. But there is the possibility that because they are claiming that they want to stop the Empire, that we could actually see the first remnants of the rebellion, which would mean that hologram could potentially be Ahsoka Tano, um, which would be very interesting to see because it'd be the first time we see a Jedi since. Let me rephrase that: the first time we see a Jedi since the Empire and since Order 66 has started and the Empire has begun. I mean, so it'd be interesting to see if that is Ahsoka Tano. But we don't know. Again, I'm hoping it's Ahsoka Tano because of the fact that Trace is a good person, and wants to do good more than Rafia. So I'm leaning more towards that one. But again, because of the angle we got, it could have been all the other guesses I had too. Um, but I imagine because they're not fans of the Empire, that they would be more with Ahsoka Tano. But yeah, again, like I said, it wasn't really like an episode in the sense of like really push things forward. It kind of more of just set things up. It was what I would call a filler episode in the sense of where it was really the ending of the episode that kind of led to the next point. Granted, we got to see two characters that we haven't seen since Clone Wars, but in the grand scheme of things for the plot of the season, I don't know necessarily how far it got. Again, other than the very end of the episode where we know that Rafia gave information about the Bad Batch to somebody. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be interested to see what happens. I am hoping that Omega's ability is to stop the chip from working. But if not, Wrecker is going to be the first one to go, unfortunately. which would really suck. Really suck. But anyway, that was pretty much the end of the episode, and all I have left to talk about. So for now, like always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.